What's the cost of not showing up? That's the title, that's the topic of today's Daily Dose. So earlier this week on my way to CrossFit, to working out, I was driving my Ford F-150. It gets a whopping 13 miles per gallon in the city. I know, not too impressive. But anyway, as I'm driving along to work out, I thought to myself, maybe I need to cut back on the number of days that I'm actually making this drive to CrossFit and instead just do some of my workouts at my house instead. And I knew it wouldn't be as effective, and I'd lose the benefit of all the equipment, and I'd lose the benefit of working out with my peers and my trainer, but I would save some money on gas. And after all, gas is crazy right now, $5 per gallon, thanks to the folks running things in Washington, our president shutting down the pipelines, making us energy dependent again, and making us normal people energy poor. Anyway, I'll calm down. Thanks for letting me rant. But anyway, so it takes me 15 minutes to get to CrossFit, then 15 minutes back. That's 30 minutes of burning gas. So should I just not go? Is it worth it? Well, I shared this consideration, this thought process with one of my mentors, Pastor Mark Buckley. And here's Mark's response. He said to me, something to the effect that, look, does going to CrossFit benefit you? And I said, yes. And then he said, does it make you a better and more healthy person? And I said, well, what do you think? Yeah, it does. And Mark said, so you need to keep doing it and walk in faith. You see, the deal is that we need to keep doing the next right thing and trust God. We can't let a few dollars every week keep us from what we know to be good for us. Mark's advice, it was fantastic. And it got me thinking, all of us, we're going to feel a lot of pressure in the coming days, weeks, and months. Pressure to make changes because this economy is imploding. It's more expensive to drive places. Food is more expensive. So the temptation will be much like I experienced. Maybe we should just not go. Maybe we should just stay home. Maybe we should cut back on things, even cut back on good things. But at what cost? Let me ask that again. But at what cost? For instance, cutting back and not showing up for my workout would be a negative effect on me physically, which would then be a negative effect on me emotionally. It would also remove many opportunities I have every week to minister Jesus to others in the gym. See, there's a cost to not showing up. So then, here's what I've been doing. Then now I'm putting on my pastor hat. And with my pastor hat on, I thought, you know what? People might be tempted to cut back on driving to church because of the additional cost. They may be tempted to think that staying home and watching a live stream is a good alternative. But let me ask you this real question. Is it? Is it really the same? Look, there's so much that's lost, so much that's missed when church is something that we just watch on a screen rather than actually show up and participate in. And there's so much gain, there's so much released and received when the saints gather in the same room at the same time. This is why the writer of Hebrews, he implores us in Hebrews 10:25. He says, do not forsake the gathering of the saints, as some are in the habit of doing. In other words, show up. There's a cost to not showing up. There's a reward to showing up. Here's the deal. It's hard to be the church if we don't show up. After all, the church, it's not just an organization. It's not a club. It's not a member roll. It's not a building. The church is the gathering of the saints. The church is the church when Jesus' followers are together in his name. So, what is the cost of not showing up? There are relational costs. We lose relational touches with one another. We lose connection. We lose ministry opportunities. The ability to smile and to come alongside and rejoice with one another and to minister to one another, to pray for one another. And you know what else is missed? That irreplaceable presence of God that happens when his people are together and inviting him to come near. You know, Paul reminded us. He says, from Him, from Jesus, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. And we do our work by being connected. Each joint, ligament, part, connected, there, together. Beloved, we can't let these economic circumstances and the dereliction of duty and insanity that's happening with leadership in Washington, we can't let these things dictate how we're going to live. And sure, higher gas prices, higher food prices, they're real. They can't be ignored. They're going to cause us to change some things in our life, but should we allow this to keep us from what we really need, what's good for us, what is healthy? I need to work out, and I need to be connected and together with my church family as well. So, again, what's the cost of not going, of not working out, not being part of the gathering of the saints? Think about it. What was the cost to those who didn't join the 120 in the upper room? They missed out on Pentecost. I mean, the Holy Spirit coming down, tongues of fire, the doors and windows blowing off of that place, everybody filled with the Holy Spirit. I mean, wow, they missed out. What was the cost? It was pretty high. What was the cost of King David not going out to battle and instead staying home? Well, what happened was he was distracted. He wasn't being held accountable. He wasn't with the other men, and he fell into some bad sin with Bathsheba. There's a cost to not showing up, to staying back. But there's also a reward for showing up. Let's remember that. What's the reward for doing the next right thing, for being faithful, for trusting God and showing up to the places that He's called you to show up to? What's the reward? Sure, there's always a cost to following Jesus, but there also is a reward. Do you believe that the reward is worth the cost? And so, here's my encouragement to my church family. As finances tighten, as fear wants to rise up, my encouragement is that we would not let the circumstances of life keep us from being the church and doing the things we know are right and good for us and our families. Yes, we need to be wise, but we also need to walk in faith. That's real wisdom. Walking in faith and trusting God at all times, that's real wisdom. And I'm going to end with this promise from Jesus when He says, but seek first His kingdom, God's kingdom, and His righteousness, and all these other things, these circumstances, these physical needs that we have, they will be given to you as well. Matthew 6:33. So have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you Sunday.